Good morning, children. In the last class, we were discussing about the motion of center of mass, and then we derived a few expressions. First of all, the velocity of center of mass, that is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 plus etc. of mn vn divided by capital M, where capital M stands for the total mass of the system of particle itself. And then the acceleration of center of mass also we discussed, and that is equal to m1 a1 plus m2 a2 plus etc. of mn an divided by capital M. And then next we want to discuss about the linear momentum of system of particles. So, from this formula, the velocity of that center of mass, we can write what is mv. mv means that is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 plus etc. of mn vn all divided by capital M. And if a system consists n number of particles, which is varying from 1 to n, we know that the momentum of the individual particles means we can write that is equal to p1 plus p2 plus p3 plus etc. of pn. The total linear momentum of a system of n number of particles means that is equal to p1 plus p2 plus p3 plus etc. of pn itself. And here P1 stands for the momentum of the first particle, and P2 stands for the momentum of the second particle, and P3 stands for the momentum of the third particles, etc. And P1 means that is the momentum of the first particle means that is m1 v1 itself. And P2 is the momentum of the second particle means that is equal to m2 v2 itself. So, the momentum of a system of n number of particles means that is equal to actually m1 v1 plus m2 v2 plus etc. of mn vn. But we know that what is that mv or m1 v1 plus m2 v2 plus m3 v3 etc. of mn vn, that is mv. That means the total linear momentum of a system of particles. So, the total momentum of a system of particle means actually that is equivalent to the sum of the momentum of the individual particle presented in that system itself. So, from these two formula, we can write that the total momentum of a system of particle P means that is actually equal to mv itself. Mass into velocity, that is a known expression for you people. So, for a system of n number of particles also, the total momentum of that system means that is equivalent to, linear momentum means that is equivalent to the sum of the momentum of the individual particles itself. And then, if we are differentiating both sides, both sides, we can write the left hand side means that is dp by dt. And dp by dt is equal to, if you are taking differentiation in left side, you have to do the differentiation on the right side also. So, d by dt of the momentum means that is equivalent to d by dt of mass into velocity. But mass is a constant. Mass of a system of, total mass of a system of particle means that is constant, which will vary, v will vary. V means that is here actually that is the velocity of center of mass. This capital M is the total mass of the system, and V stands for the velocity of that center of mass itself. So, this velocity of the center of mass is a variable means you can write that is equal to m into dv by dt itself. So, you can write it as dp by dt is equal to actually mass into acceleration, where A stands for the acceleration of that center of mass itself. A stands for what? A stands for acceleration of that center of mass itself. So, here if A stands for the acceleration of that center of mass, in that previous class we studied that whenever we are considering a system of particles, the total mass into acceleration, mass stands for the total mass of that system and A stands for acceleration of that system means ma is equal to actually f of external. in that cases, now need to consider the total internal force inside that system, because as per the Newton's third law, for every force there is an equal and opposite interaction between the particle, therefore that will be get cancelled itself. So from here we can write what is dp by dt. We are getting dp by dt is equal to f of external. This is actually Newton's second law. So this is actually the form of Newton's second law for a system, extended particle system, or an extended system itself, not to a point mass, to a extended system. We can write the formula like this. And if the total external force acting on a system of particles is 0, what can you write? You can write it as dp by dt is equal to 0. The derivative of a function is equal to 0 means that function is not varying. Derivative d by dt stands for differentiation, that means derivative. And if the derivative of a function p is not varying, it is getting as a 0, means that quantity p is a constant itself. That means the total linear momentum of that system is constant. The total linear momentum means that is mass into velocity of center of mass is a constant. That means mass is already constant, the velocity of that center of mass is constant itself. Which means that if the total external force acting on a system of particle is 0, the total external force acting on a system of particle, external force acting on a system is 0, means the velocity of that center of mass is not varying, that particle is continuing a straight line path, or it is moving with a uniform velocity. So that's about the motion of the center of mass of a system of particle itself. That is, if the external force acting on a P is a constant, means mv is constant. Okay, that means the velocity of center of mass is constant. It is coming under which condition? F of external is equal to 0. F of external is equal to 0 means the external force acting on a system of particle is 0. Then that system is moving, the velocity of that center of mass is a constant itself, or it is moving along a straight line path, or we can say it is moving with a uniform velocity itself. And then there are two examples which is given in your textbook in order to study about the motion of that center of mass under different situation. The first one is the radioactive decay. Radioactive decay of an unstable nuclei, that is radium, it is given. So if this radioactive nuclei, it is moving, and during its motion and its center of mass, and during its motion we know that it is an unstable nuclei, means after some time, it is not motion, after a particular interval of time it get decay. It get decay into two segments. One is random and the other one it is alpha particle. Alpha particle means helium nucleus. So radioactive decay process means that is happening in that atom by its own process. There is no presence of any other external force. That system is unstable, therefore that system is trying to attain the stability by the process of radioactive decay. Therefore, the process of splitting of this radium nuclei into random and that of alpha particle means that is because of which force? That is because of internal force itself. And the external force acting on that system, it is negligible. External force acting on that system, it is negligible. So what happened means after that explosion, the center of mass of that system, it is assumed to be moved with that same velocity. That means a uniform motion along a straight line path itself, and the other two particles will follow their own path. That is an example in order to describe that special cases which can be discussed. That means the motion of the center of mass of a system. Here the external force is negligible, means zero itself. Therefore, the center of mass of that system will continue the straight path. That means it will move with a uniform velocity, and the other two decay particles will move in different directions. And then in order to study about the movement or the motion of the center of mass of a system of particle, another one example, it is the motion of the binary stars. Binary stars means binary stars are two stars, a group of two stars of equal masses, and it is orbiting around the center of mass of these two systems. That means this is first star S1 and this is second star S2, and we know that there will be a position of center of mass where the whole mass of these two systems is concentrated. Therefore, here these two stars are actually orbiting around that center of mass of that system in a circular path, and this system is actually known as what? That is actually known as a system of binary stars itself. And then whenever we are studying about the path of this center of mass of a system of these two stars with equal masses, and these two are bounded here with the help of gravitational force itself. And whenever we are considering the motion or the path followed by this binary system of stars, there are two types of motion it is coming. The external force, it is bounded already because of the gravitational force, and if there is no any other external force is acting on that system, F is equal to 0, we know that when the external force acting on a system of rigid body, that means system of particle, the center of mass will follow which path? Center of mass will follow a straight line path with a uniform velocity. And at the same time, these two stars are orbiting in which path? A circular path. Therefore, here the stars are following a circular path, and at the same time the center of mass is following a straight line path, if there is no any other external force acting in that system. Then as a combination of these two motions, the path followed by the binary stars will come like this. If this is S1 means S2 also will come like that, because it is a combination. The path followed will be little bit complicated as in the cases of a system of binary stars. It's just like a helical path, that is circular at the same time linear. Not completing circle, center of mass is following a straight line path also. Therefore, that's about the example of the motion of center of mass, which is given in your textbook. Read it. Okay, study in detail. So in the first chapter, you people studied about vectors, and then addition of vectors, subtraction of vectors, splitting of vectors, that means the resolution of vectors. And then now we are going to study about the multiplication of vector, and vector multiplication, that means product. One type of product you people studied in the previous chapter, that is scalar product. And then another one type of the vector product is a product of two vectors. It is actually a vector product itself. Vector products are of two types. The first one, it is scalar, and the second one, it is vector product. And this one you people already studied, and in this chapter you people are going to study about what is meant by vector product. If A and B are two vectors, then the scalar product of these two vectors or dot product means that is equal to AB cos theta, and you people studied that the product after the find the product of these two vectors, you will get a scalar quantity. But whenever you are finding the vector product of two vector A and B, it is cross. It is also known as cross product. So it is this one, you people wanted to read it as A cross B. So what is A cross B means? That is equal to AB sine theta, where theta is the angle between these two vectors, vector A and B. if two vector quantity A and B it is inclined with an angle theta, its vector product means that is A cross B, that is equal to AB sin theta, where theta is the angle between the vector A and that of vector B itself. And A cross B, well, suppose you are considering a vector A like this and another one vector B like this, and the cross product, if you are finding A cross B, means this is A cross B. You want to move from angle, this is angle theta, you want to move from the vector A to vector B. And in order to find the direction, there is one rule which is known as the right hand rule. So if here you want to find the direction of A cross B, means keep your right hand like this, and the curls you want to keep from A to B. A cross B means this direction. Then the thumb will give what is the direction of the product of these two vectors A cross B. A is a vector, B is a vector. The product what you are getting, that is also a vector quantity, which means that it has both magnitude and that of direction. Here A and B is actually lying in a single plane. Therefore, its product will be lying in the another plane. And how to find the direction of that vector means, in order to find A cross B, vector A, vector B, keep your finger right hand like this. A cross B means from A to B, then the thumb is pointing outward, therefore that is the direction of the product of that vector like this. And in this plane, suppose you want to find B cross A. This is vector A, this is vector B. Suppose you want to find B cross A means B to A. Right hand rule itself. But here, previous case we kept like this, but now we want to keep like this. Therefore, your thumb is pointing how? Thumb is pointing inward. Therefore, that is giving inward. The product of these two, B cross A is inward, A cross B is outward. Which means that the magnitude of A cross B and B cross A means that will be same. But the direction means A cross B is equal to minus of B cross A. Or B cross A is equal to minus of A cross B itself. And then some more rules you people want to study as in the cases of this vector product. That is, we know that whenever we are considering the plane and all, we are usually considering the planes x, y and that of z axis. And in order to describe a vector quantity which is placed along the x axis, usually we are using the unit vector along x axis, that is I, and the unit vector along y axis, that is j, and the unit vector along z axis, that is k. Am I right? So in this cases, what is, we are considering system of three vectors I, j, k, unit vectors. As in the cases of scalar product, you people studied that I dot I is equal to 1, j dot j is equal to 1, k dot k is equal to 1. Am I right? Because I dot I means I cos theta. I dot I means theta is 0, therefore it will come as 1. But what is I dot j? I dot j is equal to 0, because the angle between I and j is 90, cos 90 is 0. In that same way, what is I cross j? I cross j means magnitude of I 1, magnitude of j 1, sine, angle between that two, I and j, the angle between that two, it is 90. Therefore, I cross j, magnitude it is 1. What about direction? I cross j, if I am finding I cross j, I to j, I want to keep like this, then my thumb is pointing outward, that means that is actually along which direction? Z axis direction. Therefore, I cross j unit vector, I cross j means actually that is k. In that same way, what will be j cross k? J cross k, magnitude of j is 1, k is 1, sine 90. What about direction? J cross k. J cross k means like this. If I am keeping means it will come along I axis. Therefore I. So whenever you are taking this one as a cyclic vectors like this, there is a simple vector to write this one. That is I cross j is equal to what? K. And j cross k is equal to what? I. J cross K is I. Cyclic manner itself you wanted to choose it. Okay. And then what is K cross I? K cross I means it is J. But if you are taking this one as J cross I means how it will come, magnitude will be same. But J cross I means like this you want to keep, therefore your thumb will pointing inward. Therefore J cross I means minus K. And K cross J means that is minus I. And I cross K means that is minus J. This is about which product of vectors? Vector product. And then if two vector, one is vector A, it has three components. One is along x-axis, other one it is along y-axis and that of z-axis. The vector A, you can write it as Ax into I, its component. The component of vector A along x-axis, Ax into I, plus Ay into J, plus Az into K. And B also given as Bx into I, plus By into J, plus Bz into K. How can you find the product of these two vectors? A cross B means that is matrices. I hope you people studied matrix in +1 or +2. I think it is coming in +2 only. Anyway, first of all you want to write I, J and that of K. It is minus I, put it there. And then first vector A, I component is Ax, J component it is Ay, K component it is Az. B, similarly it is Bx, By, Bz. Then how can you find the cross product of this vector means first I component I. Then if you choose this I, eliminate these two. Just consider this part. Then here it is I into multiply this one, that is A, Y, B, Z, minus multiply this one, B, Y, A, Z. I component over. While you choose to I, remove this I part. Consider the remaining these two. In the same way, next is J. So when you are considering this J, it is minus J. But when you consider this J, remove this one, consider these two. Therefore it is J from top to here, multiplication direction is like this. Ax Bz minus Bx Az. Next, plus K into K component. So whenever you are choosing K, this one you want to remove, just want to consider these two. Therefore, Ax By minus Bx Ay. This is the way to find the cross product of two vectors when it is given into the terms of its components. This is description. Whenever we are solving one numerical, it will be clear. Okay. So, next we want to study about the term angular velocity. In previous cases, wherever we discussed about the term linear velocity of an object. That means an object which is in straight line motion or in a uniform motion along a straight path, we want to consider only the term linear velocity. But whenever we are considering a rigid body, a body with an irregular shape like this, if it is rotating about an axis, there are the presence of number of individual particles here. So suppose you consider the particle which is present here. If this body, rigid body, it is rotating about this axis. This particle is moving like this now. And suppose you consider from the axis there is a distance r also. But whenever you are considering an object which is on the axis of rotation, it is rotating about the itself. That means it is at rest. If the center of mass of the system it is there, means it is at rest. And when you consider the particle which is presented here, if this body it is rotating like this particle is also moving like this. That means whenever you are considering a rigid body, each particle presented in that system is in which motion? That is in a circular motion itself. It is following a circular path only. Whatever will be the shape, if it is rotating about an axis, the individual particle presented here, that is following a circle only there. That means it has a circular path or circular motion itself. But that is about an axis, orbiting around an axis in a circular path. So whenever we are considering the motion of a rigid body, the individual particle presented in that system, it is following a circular path only, circular motion. And in the previous chapter, you people studied about circular motion. And in that one, you people studied that whenever object it is in circular motion, it has the velocity, and that velocity is actually known as the angular velocity omega. Angular velocity omega. So suppose you choose the particle P1 presented here, which is at a distance r away from the center. That means about the axis through which it is rotating. Its angular velocity is omega. So initially suppose you consider the particle is at this point P1. After some time that one reaches to this point P2. That one here swept an angle delta theta within a time delta t. Well then, that is here you can consider this is axis, here this is the particle C, and it is following a circular path. Here the particle it is P1. After time T1, that one reaches to this position P2. That one swept, turned there an angle delta theta within a particular interval of time delta t. We know that what is velocity? Velocity means that is equal to distance by time. But here the object turned through certain angle. Therefore, angular velocity means it is not distance, that is angular distance, that is delta theta within a time delta t. And this is known as what? That is the expression for angular velocity. It is not linear velocity. Angular velocity means angle turned by the object or angle swept by the object within a particular interval of time. So, the angular velocity of that object omega means that is equal to delta theta divided by delta t. Change in angle divided by change in time. But when the time limit delta t tends to 0, you will get the expression for which velocity? You will get the expression for the instantaneous omega angular velocity. That will be what? That is d theta divided by dt. Instantaneous omega expression. That is d theta by dt itself. And then what is the relation connecting between linear velocity and angular velocity? Suppose here we are choosing the center of mass of the system C, and this is particle which is at a distance r away from the center. Here this is a particular point, particle I point, particle P1. From the center it is at a distance r away from here. We know the relation between velocity, the distance, and that of angular velocity is v is equal to r omega, or omega into r. But if we are writing this is equal to omega cross r, wait, we are writing like this, wait. This is omega cross r means this distance. But this distance means if you are considering the triangle this one plus this one. So you can write that is equal to OC plus OP. But what is OC? OC is about the axis. If this object it is rotating like this with an angular velocity omega, whatever particle you are considering on this axis, that particle will be at rest because r is 0. Therefore, that particle will be at rest itself. Therefore, it is omega cross OP. So, what is omega cross OP? OP means that is r itself. Therefore, actually, V is equal to omega cross r, angular velocity means that is actually which product? That is a vector product. Understood? Therefore, this is the relation connecting between the linear velocity and that of angular velocity. Okay. So today that much it is enough. Read your textbook, you will understand. I am following that your NCERT itself line by line. This is a new concept, little bit difficult you will feel, but whatever it is, you must read the textbook, you will get the idea about it. Okay, thank you.